Hey everybody, hi to the MIT App Inventor class. This is Jimmy, the instructor for the course, and this is basically a first video in this sort of video series for MIT App Inventor. So this video series is designed as a supplemental video series to sort of help you with the lab. So the purpose is so in lab time, it's more beneficial to have you do more hands-on work. So this way, you can watch the videos before lab and to get acquainted with the material and then just be able to work on the labs on Saturdays. And of course, these videos are designed so you can look back at previous lectures. So if in case you need to recap any information. And at the same time, if you miss class for some reason, of course, this way you will not fall behind because you can also get access to these videos as well. So I guess for this first video, I'm just going to go over the basic properties of how to use MIT App Inventor in case if it went by a little too quick in class this past weekend. So let's go ahead and first begin going over MIT App Inventor. So the first step to begin developing with MIT App Inventor is you first want to open up your browser of choice. So you can use Google Chrome or you can use Firefox. Those are the recommended browsers to use with MIT App Inventor. So I will go ahead and open up Google Chrome. And the first thing you have to do is search for MIT App Inventor, which I will at the very top. MIT App Inventor. That will take us to this page, the very first link. You want to click on that. And then you want to go to Create Apps. Now, in this situation, you want to use an email to do this. I believe it can be any email, but I would recommend a Gmail account. If you don't have a Gmail account, you can of course create an account by clicking on this link right below. But I have my account, so I will go ahead and use that. But if you don't have a Gmail account, I'll pause the video right here and create your account and then resume. So anyway, let's go ahead and enter my Gmail account. It's my UNLV email. The password. And sometimes it asks you to authenticate your sort of your emails. So it's going to send some type of a digit code to your text to your phone. Okay, so now you're logged in. Now, I guess for this video, I'm going to go ahead and sort of make a new project. So it would start you off on initial project right away, but I've done some test projects. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new project from scratch. And I'll just, I'm going to go ahead and call it infamous Hello World. Very infamous line for any sort of programming. You always have to start with Hello World first. So basically in this in this view right here, this is going to show you the view of your mobile app. So right here we can actually add all kinds of objects to this. So if you look at the left side over here, you can see that you have all of your different objects you can add to your app, essentially. These are going to be your simple sort of objects. But of course, we have more different types of objects that can be added to your form. So we also have layout. This will kind of allow you to sort of control where different sort of objects go on your form. I'm just going to keep this sort of simple for today. But of course, this is a way to sort of be able to have more control as to where different objects on your form are going to go. Then we have our media, which is going to be sort of these widgets, I suppose you can say, right there. And there's also other types of objects as well. But anyway, for right now, let's go ahead and just do something simple just to get us started. And we're going to just have this program where, just like in class the other day, we're going to have it where it's going to just have a text box. It's going to read some input from the user, and it's going to output it to a label, and also it's going to speak as well. A very simple first sort of app. But of course, our lab for next week will be a bit more complicated than just this, but it's just a chance to practice with this. So of course, I'm going to just create sort of a text box. I'm going to click and drag it and drop it into my form or to my screen here. So right now, this right here is not going to actually run your app. You're just simply designing your app right here. So right now, we have our text box, and I want to make it a bit wider so it fills up the entire screen. So looking at text box, so we click on text box in our app. The right side is where you can see all the attributes for this text box. So we can do all kinds of content with this. So I'm going to, for right now, take the width. I'm going to click right there and set it to fill parent. So what that really means is that screen 1, so look at our objects, our components here on the right side. Screen 1 is going to be our parent sort of component, and text box is a child within this parent component. So when I go ahead and I set it to fill parent, it's going to make it as wide as the parent component for this app. And of course, you can add other sorts of, you can sort of customize it a bit more. You can have the text color be different. So right now it's a default color, but you can add different colors to it. I can go ahead and also show a different background. So you can have a blue background for if you want, green. I'll just keep it with the default. So no, just a default color right there. So it's going to be where the user can actually enter sort of type content. So once I have that, well, I'm going to go ahead and now add a button to this program. So a button is sort of an object that the user can click, and it will activate some type of function. So I'm going to go to my button component left side. I'm going to go ahead and I want to add a button to this program by just selecting the button and then dropping it into my app, into my view of the app. Okay, so right now when I do this, well, again, this button is sort of kind of looks odd, so I want to go ahead and also make this a bit wider. So I'm going to go to the properties part. So when I click on a different object, right now I'm clicked on text box 1, then these properties are going to modify the text box property or text box object. If I want to be able to update the button object, I have to click on the button, and now we can see here we're going to be able to modify the view of the button on this app. So now I'm going to once again for my width, fill parent, so it simply fills up the entire parent like that. I guess I won't make the height any bigger. I think the height is good enough like that. And of course we have our text field. Right now it says text for button 1. Well, it's not a very good text sort of name to give this, so I'm going to write this as maybe speak. So I have to type in speak over here, hit enter, and updates it here on the app, or on the view. Okay, cool. So now I want to go ahead and I want to write to a label. So we have this label object, and labels are just ways to display something to the screen. So text box are for inputs, and labels will typically be for output. So I'll click and drag and drop this right there inside of my app. And once again, I kind of want to sort of widen it because it makes sense to have it take up the entire screen, or have the width take up the entire screen. So I'm going to once again click on the label, and right here go to width, and then have it fill parent so it takes up the entire space. And I guess I also want to make this where it's going to be centered. So I'm going to go to the text alignment field and center this. Awesome. And I guess for right now, I'll just go ahead and sort of maybe just put a few spaces here so it sort of contains no real text. Actually, I could have made it just blank instead. So right now, it contains no text, but we're going to actually put text over there. And I'm going to possibly set the font size to be a little bit larger, maybe have it around 20. And then for the button, I'm going to also increase the font for it as well by making it maybe also size 20. So it's a little bit larger. Okay, so this is going to just, so far all we did was create our view. And now we want to actually have it where it's going to be able to say something to us. So we have to go to the media section and then find text to speech right there, and then click and drag it and drop it into our app. So it's not going to show an actual object on our form or on our view, but it's okay. It's definitely there. It just sort of doesn't actually take up space on the view. It's just sort of a component that's definitely part of this app. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and now try to run this app and see what happens. So to be able to run this app on your phone, you would actually have to install the AI App Inventor Companion App. To do this on iPhone, go to the App Store and then search for a MIT App Inventor. If you're on an Android device, you will use Google Play Store and install MIT App Inventor. Once you have it installed, you would go ahead and open the app. In order to take this program and sort of have it run on your mobile device, you first have to go to the very top up here to connect, and then AI Companion. And what this does, it creates this QR code. So you basically, on your phone, when you open up the Companion app, it has an option to scan a QR code. So you click on the scan QR code, it opens up a camera, and you just have to position the camera so it sort of takes the QR code and it's going to load this app onto your phone so you can test it out. Now, of course, here in this video, I won't be able to really test it on a phone in order to still have it in the video. So I'm going to actually run an emulator to do this. So emulator is basically just a program that simulates or emulates an Android device on a computer, which I have already installed. And to install this, you have to go to the steps on the MIT App Inventor site. I won't cover that right here since you will not need to use that. But of course, if you ever have any questions on that, feel free to contact me. I can, of course, assist you with that if you do want to use the emulator. So I have the emulator running first, which is this really weird terminal screen. And I'm going to connect, and then I'm going to click emulator. So it's going to run the emulator. It takes a second or two to load this emulator up. It's doing some stuff right here. And we can see emulator is now, this screen right there is going to be our emulator. And let's see, it's still taking some time. Let's go ahead and skip ahead. So now it finally loaded the emulator, so I skipped ahead a little bit. So this right here is going to be just your view where you can create your apps, but right now this, we can try to pretend this is just our mobile phone, but it's running on this Windows machine, but this is definitely running Android sort of phone, I suppose you can call that. So if we go ahead and click on the text box, it opens up this screen. So I could, of course, type hello, just like that, just like you would type, using your thumbs, I guess. And I'll hit done. I can go ahead and click on speak. And well, right now it doesn't really do anything. But the important part is that we actually have this app runnable. So if you're using your own phone, it wouldn't do anything. So it is a non-functioning program, but we are getting there. So far all we did was we set up our app to be able to run on some device. So now we want to go ahead and add customization and functionality to our program. Okay, so now that we have our view created, we want to now add functionality. So if we go to the very top right corner, we see designer, then we see blocks. So blocks is where we actually write sort of code, but not really in C++ or Java, but using these sort of blocks that will basically simulate writing code, because code basically is a set of different instructions, set of different, I guess you can call it, I guess you can think of it as blocks if you want, that's going to allow us to sort of add features and be able to have our program sort of do something. So in our blocks, we have several built-in blocks. So control, this is going to be our decision structures, so we'll have a lab that will soon cover this. Logic, well, this is sort of used with our control. Math will be used for calculations, and of course, in computer science, calculations are always pretty important whenever we sort of attack a problem. Text is mostly for outputting actual text or to be using text. Lists, these are going to be sort of for arrays. And dictionaries, well, it's sort of, I don't think we'll be able to get into that just yet. Variables are also part of our language as well. So really, control, logic, math, text, lists, and variables for sure are going to be used quite a bit throughout these videos and throughout our labs on Saturdays. And then here we have our screen one, and we have our components. So we can actually sort of add functionality to our components. So for example, I want to be able to click the button and have it do something. And we saw earlier when I actually clicked the button to speak, well, nothing really happened. So what I'm going to do right now is click on the button button 1, and it gives all these blocks we have. So we can use these blocks to perform sort of steps with our button. So right now we have this when button 1 dot click. That means it's going to run instructions when the button 1 is clicked, which is exactly what we want it to do. I'm going to click this and drag it and put it into our buttons design. And right now, okay, great. So now we have a block which is going to run some code if we click on a button. But we want to actually do some sort of work. So let's go to our text-to-speech block. And well, we have several contents here. And we want to call this, we look at this purple block, which is, so when it's called, we want it to say something. So we want this text-to-speech to speak. So we have to use this block, basically. But we have to tell it, well, what do we want it to actually say? Well, if you go back to our designer, when I click on speak, well, it's going to actually read input from this text box. So you want to be able to read stuff from our text box. So let's go ahead and go to our text box block and go through our all of our blocks we have here. And it's going to be, it's always hard to find these, textbox1.text. We'll need this. So this is going to basically, it's going to retrieve what was typed in that text box. Okay, great. So we also have a label. We want to output to the label. So we're going to have our app, we're going to write some text into our text box. We want to write to a label and be able to speak or to read what's contained in that label. So I'm going to go ahead and take the label, and we have several fields here as well. So let's see if we can find this. So we want to be able to set the label to textbox1's text field. So let's see. There we go, this one. So basically, we want to set the label's text to whatever is inside of textbox1's text. So we're going to have to go ahead and connect these. And that's going to cause a click, which means that, well, we were able to successfully add 2 blocks. So right here, we're going to set this label, essentially, with whatever is written in our text box. And you want this to run when button 1 is clicked. So I'm going to click and drag it, and you can see here that these sort of blocks do match. You can see it's going to click together. So now we have that. We want to also call this text-to-speech. So we want to, of course, write to our label, but also be able to say something. So we go back to our label 1, or go back to our text box 1, sorry, and get whatever text was entered in that text box. So of course, text box 1 dot text is going to be what's the user entered into that text box, and we want to pass that into this message. So it's going to read whatever message we pass into this purple block, which is we're passing in text box 1 dot text. We're passing in what the user entered, and we're going to have this call, which is going to basically read what's written there. So this program, what it's going to do, we only have really one main feature. We're going to have it where if a user clicks the button, it's going to read whatever's in that text box. So text box 1 dot text will be what's stored, what the user entered. We're going to write that to our label 1, and then we're going to have it speak, and it's going to read what was in text box 1. So let's go ahead and now run this and see what it does. So to run this, well, on your on the MIT App Inventor website, you can of course hit connect, and you can of course refresh Companion App screen. Now of course there are moments where sometimes the app or AI Companion app could sort of disconnect from this from this designer. So of course, if that's the case, you always can reset the connection, and then of course click on AI Companion to get a new QR code to reload any updates you wrote to your program. So in my case, I actually already on my emulator, I already have this updated already. So now what's going to happen, let's go ahead and just first type something. So of course, we have to have our infamous hello world. We can't really not have any type of programming class without hello world. So in this situation, what's going to happen in our program? When I go ahead and click on speak, it's going to call this block right here, because when button 1 dot click. So even though we have it here as speak, to the actual code, button 1 is the object name, is button name. So button 1 dot click is going to run these blocks right there, which is going to pretty much, well, text 1 dot text, text box 1 dot text, sorry, in this case will be hello world. We're going to set that to the label below, so we're going to have hello world written right here, and then we're going to call this object, this text to speech block, and we're going to call it speak function, and we're going to pass in text box 1 dot text into this function. So we're going to have it read text box 1 dot text, whatever is written over here. Let's try this out.
Hello world.
So it looks like it does work. So basically, just to recap, whatever we type here, that's text box 1 dot text. That's going to be right there. We're going to set the label to that text. Then we call the speak function, and we pass text box 1 dot text to it. And of course, I could modify this. I could have a new text. Let's try something else. Let's try have a nice day. All right. So I hit the speak button again. It's going to again run these blocks once more. So it's going to basically have text box 1 dot text. In this situation, it's going to be have a nice day. It's going to take have a nice day and write that to the label. And then it's going to say have a nice day because we're passing text box 1 into this call function. Let's click on speak.
Have a nice day.
So of course it took have a nice day, wrote it to the label because we have set label 1 with that. Then we have it speak. So any order it would have been okay. So I had it in this order, but if I would have swapped these two blocks, it would have still worked because the end result is we're going to have this program say have a nice day, and then of course write to the label, or vice versa. Either way, it would still have the same goal at the end, which is to really write to the label and speak. So we'll have more videos on these to cover more complicated blocks, more complex apps. But for right now, that was our first simple app, just to get sort of used to and mess around and try to get sort of comfortable with MIT App Inventor. So that's it for this video. So thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.